So I'm back here again with the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. And today we're going to talk about something a bit different. We're going to talk about the statistics and the numbers and some of the technical stuff that's going on. So let's go and learn all about that now. Okay, so now I'm here with Lee in SEAI, and he's involved in the stats team, the statistics. How you doing, Lee? Thanks for having me here.
No, great to have you.
Yeah, so Lee, can you tell me a few things about what you actually do here and some fun statistics about what's happening?
Absolutely. So I head up the energy stats team at SEAI. Myself and my team were responsible for understanding and documenting the energy supply and demand in Ireland. How much energy comes into the country, where we use it, and how much CO2 it generates.
Okay, so when we see these things like, 27% of this came from that, and we're using 80% of this, you're the guys who get those numbers.
We're the people who put the extra decimal point at the end of those numbers.
Okay, yeah. Excellent, good stuff. Yeah, because it's super important. If we want to be more clean and more green, like we need to know how much coal we're burning. We need to know how much is coming from wind. We need to know all of that.
That's exactly it. And if you haven't got a number on something, you don't know whether you're getting better or worse. So we're responsible for understanding exactly how much energy and CO2 is being generated from that energy, and then we can kind of call ourselves to account on that.
Okay, so you get a call from the Taoiseach and he's like, here, Lee, can you tell me how much today?
Yeah, it's not a million miles off that. So we do get requests from government and policymakers and ministers for constant updates, because it's so important that we keep our energy green and keep our CO2 down, that there's a constant request from us to update people and the public in general.
Okay, that is really cool. Come here, how did you end up in a job like this? What did you do? What's your background?
So originally I was a physicist.
Wait, hold on, me too.
Yeah. So we crop up everywhere.
Okay, good stuff. Where did you study physics?
I did my degree out in DCU.
Me too.
I know. Yeah, I guess you're a younger pedigree than I am. No?
Or maybe a year or two. We'll see. Well, I'll catch up with you soon. But great.
Very
so you
good.
were a physicist in DCU.
Yeah. And then I kind of really have a passion for numbers and communicating those numbers effectively. Right. And when I was thinking about my career, I couldn't think of any numbers that were more important than the numbers that relate to climate change and energy sustainability. So that's where I come from. Just really around getting the numbers correct and getting people to understand those numbers in a way that empowers them to take action.
That's fantastic. Well, here, maybe we'll go to your desk and have a look at some of these numbers in action.
You're very, very welcome.
Great, let's go.
Okay,
so this is where the magic happens, Lee.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. This is where you do all your little calculations and looking at all your stuff and turning all of this mad numbers into stuff we can understand.
That's it. This is my standing desk. This is where we kind of take a lot of the raw data that we collect. Yes. We run hundreds of surveys every year. We deal with tens of thousands of numbers, but we're really interested in boiling it down into something that people can look at and understand. So we're not always dealing with energy experts. We're often dealing with people who are making decisions and have a vague understanding. So we use this visual representation to kind of get quickly to the key points.
And you said that it's kind of like almost like cooking. So it's almost like baking a cake. You have all the ingredients you add in?
So we take a lot of raw data. Yeah. We collect, as I said, tens of thousands of data points from energy suppliers all over the country. And we check those and we add them and we double check them. And then we boil them down into impactful statistics.
Okay, so this is basically your cake that came out of the oven here.
This is the final product, or a very, very close step towards the final product.
So, and who helps you to make all these mad graphs and all this stuff that tell us what to do?
So this is really interesting. This is a new dashboarding project we have at the moment, and we have 3 wonderful interest students from DCU. So they've kind of come in and they've taken some of this raw data, and they've helped us develop these dashboards. And these allow us to update people every month on the energy supply and demand in Ireland. So trying to get that data out there quickly and in a detailed way.
Okay, so if you're like 14 years old and at home watching this, in like 5 years' time, you could be in here as an interest student.
If you have an interest in energy, like we'll have work for you to do.
Okay, brilliant. And here, can you give me a few statistics? I'm wondering, say, what percentage of our cars are actually powered by renewable energy?
So currently it's quite low. So we estimate that about 95% of vans, cars and lorries on the road are powered by fossil fuel. So the vast majority is still being powered by carbon intensive fuels.
Yeah, that's pretty high. And what about our heating our houses?
That's also a bad news story. So again, over 90% of Ireland's heating comes from fossil fuels, be that gas, oil, peat or coal.
Okay, right. And what about electricity generation?
That's a better news story.
Yes.
So Ireland has been adding considerable renewable capacity to the grid now for several years, and currently about 40% of all electricity in the country is coming from renewable sources.
Okay.
And we hope to double that to 80% of renewable share by 2030.
Okay, and how are we going to double that? How will we change that? What will that mean?
So by adding considerable additional capacity, so making more renewable electricity, so adding new wind farms, be they onshore or offshore, adding more maybe biomass, hydro and solar PV generation as well.
Okay, and what about the cars? Does that go to electric cars? Is that what we should do?
Yeah, that's really the idea. The idea is to make Ireland's electricity more renewable and then to use that renewable electricity to displace fossil fuels. So to move from a petrol-powered car or a diesel-powered car to an EV, an electric vehicle.
Okay, but then there's the heating of the houses. How are we going to change from oil and gas and all that?
So it's a similar story there. So we can use electricity from the renewable sources through heat pumps to efficiently heat people's houses with renewable energy.
Okay, well, maybe we could talk a little bit about that in more detail if you want to go down the road.
Sure, that'll be great.
All right, so now we're going to talk about some of the technical stuff. Right, Lee, you told me that if we want to change our houses from, burning oil and coal and gas and turf and all that to heat them, we can use something called a heat pump.
That's right, yeah.
And I understood that a heat pump is kind of like a fridge in reverse.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. So it's a machine that allows us to pull heat from the air or our gardens outside and push it into the house.
Okay, all right, even if it's cold outside.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing. So it really uses a cycle to kind of compress gas and add heat to it, and then it pushes that into the house.
Okay, yeah, because just like if you remember our fridge episode that we did way back when at the start of Science at Home, you have a compressor underneath your fridge. And if you go around the back of your fridge, you'll feel that even though it's cold inside the fridge, it's really hot in the back of the fridge. So imagine just shoving that into your house and imagine the heat from the back of the fridge going in. That's kind of like it.
That's exactly it.
Perfect. And then the other thing that we'll see a lot of is these solar panels. And we might be wondering how a solar panel actually works. How can sunlight become electricity?
That's a great point, and it's something that people often don't really understand, that even in Ireland, where unfortunately it can be quite cloudy, solar panels can still generate useful amounts of electricity. So they work by having little particles of light called photons coming in. They arrive on the panel and they kind of excite an electron, it kicks an electron up, and that electron then is swept over the area of the panel and it creates an electrical current.
Okay, so that little photon guy can come and just give enough energy to these electrons that create electricity and go round and round.
So it's like a tiny amount of light that comes in, hitting a tiny electron, but there's millions of them all the time. So it's like millions and millions of tiny interactions, and that's what gives meaningful electricity out.
Okay, that's fantastic. Cool, good stuff. And I suppose then you said that even on a cloudy day we can have our solar panels. And the other things that's doing something is our wind turbines. So if we have wind turbines and solar panels, are they going to work well together, or what's the story with them?
So I guess we have very, very ambitious targets for the future. So we're really in a mode of not either or technology. We need everything and.
Okay, right.
And so wind and solar, they're really complementary. So we know from the data we collect in the stats team that wind blows and we get more wind generation in the winter months. And then we get more solar and less wind in the summer months. So you have in the winter months more wind and low solar, and in the summer months more solar and less wind. So they kind of even each other out. They're kind of complementary.
Okay, so if you had just the solar in the winter, you'd have no electricity.
So that's it. So it's really just to try and balance things out.
And if you had just wind in the summertime, you'd have very little.
You have it exactly.
And can you not just use massive big car batteries?
No, so storing energy is a real challenge. So we really need to have something for when the wind isn't blowing. We need to have something that kicks in, and really solar is one of many technologies that will help balance that load.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so thanks so much, Lee. I learned loads of stuff about the statistics, all about everything that's going on and the numbers and some of the practical stuff too. So it's really cool to see that if someone wants to be part of this green revolution and they want to help save the planet, but they love numbers and maths and statistics and all that, we really need them too, yes?
That's it. Like if you have an interest and a capacity for numbers, then we'll definitely have a job for you.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one and I hope you learned a thing or two, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one.